of stalled disarmament negotiations. But officials say it may take several rounds of low-level talks before a meeting of senior officials takes place. The talks come as the US Special Envoy for Human Rights in North Korea held a meeting with South Korea's nuclear envoy to discuss North Korean issues. Wee Sung-lek is due in Beijing this week for a two-day visit also aimed at restarting stalled nuclear talks. Stephanie Scowen, Al Jazeera.
Tensions remain high between Thai and Cambodian troops along their disputed border. Firing has stopped, but the soldiers are bracing for more clashes. Both countries lay claim to the area. Fighting over the past 4 days has forced residents on both sides to evacuate the border region. Well, the party of Myanmar's pro-democracy leader Aung San Suu Kyi is seeking talks with Western nations on how to modify sanctions there. The NLD had earlier said it wanted existing restrictions to remain. But the party also hopes responsible investment guidelines could ease economic hardship in Myanmar. Sanctions were imposed to force the military regime to improve its poor human rights record and initiate democratic reforms. Japanese car manufacturer Toyota has reported a 39% drop in profits during its last quarter. The company is blaming a sales slump and a strong yen for the fall. But the world's biggest automaker has lifted its forecasted annual operating profit because of strong sales in the first 9 months. And staying in Japan, cheerleaders and performers have encouraged a 1,000-strong crowd of college graduates seeking jobs. The annual Tokyo event is organized by schools across Japan to motivate students ahead of graduation day in March. Well, years of economic stagnation has made Japan's employment market particularly tough. Well, in Mexico, 3 teenage boys have been shot dead in an apparent gang attack in the volatile border city of Ciudad Juarez. Well, elsewhere, bodyguards protecting a high-ranking naval officer have also been killed. Frank Contreras has more from Mexico City.
Mexicans are mourning the deaths of at least 5 more people in drug-related violence. The first case happened in the northern Mexican city of Ciudad Juarez, located just across the border from Texas. It appears now that 3 teenagers were killed over the weekend in drug-related violence. They were sitting down having lunch at a taco stand. They got up to look at some auto parts, and apparently a group of armed men decided to show up and opened fire on those young men. U.S. authorities and U.S. officials, school officials, are now confirming that at least 2 of those teenagers were indeed U.S. citizens. The families say it was a case of mistaken identity. And in the Pacific coastal city of Tepic, Nayarit, bodyguards who were protecting a high-ranking naval officer were killed at a shopping center. The officer had just gotten out of his vehicle, went into a restaurant when armed men decided to open fire, killing those 2 bodyguards in front of what were probably hundreds of eyewitnesses, those eyewitnesses running for cover and waiting for protection for at least an hour until the area was secure. And so the kind of drug-related violence that has plagued Mexico continues here, with more than 35,000 people killed since President Felipe Calderón launched his war on drugs in December 2006.
And protesters in the Haitian capital Port-au-Prince have been calling for the immediate resignation of President René Préval. Hundreds of Haitians marched near the collapsed presidential palace on Tuesday. They set up burning barricades in the street and threw stones at police. Préval's mandate expired on Monday, but Parliament has given him an extension following a disputed first-round poll. The second round of voting is scheduled for March the 20th. Well, Sebastian Walker has more now from the Haitian capital.
You can see the police are moving forward, trying to disperse a crowd that's gathered just outside the presidential palace. We've had shots fired in the air. There's a real atmosphere of tension here throughout the morning. We've been seeing protesters gather, burning tyres, putting barricades in the street. You can see just over there, they've overturned these dumpsters, trying to stop the police getting towards the heart of where the protest is taking place. It's a very uncertain atmosphere in the air here. We've had all sorts of rumours about a possible return of Jean-Bertrand Aristide, the very popular former president of Haiti who's been living in exile in South Africa. The police have been firing tear gas canisters into the crowd to try to get them to disperse. You can see they've managed to clear most of this area, which is right outside the palace itself. We are being told that Reni Preval, Haiti's current president, is going to continue in office until April, after the scheduled presidential runoff vote on March the 20th, which will ultimately decide who becomes Haiti's next president.
A fire has swept through several warehouses in Rio de Janeiro, destroying costumes and floats for next month's carnival. Fire crews battled for hours to control the blaze. Some warehouses lost 90% of their stock, though. Gabriela Elizondo reports now from Brazil.
As the building that houses Rio de Janeiro's carnival complex went up in flames, so too did the plans for the city's world-famous carnival parade. The billows of smoke rose from the Cidade do Samba, or Samba City as it's called. It's the huge warehouse building and tourist destination where the samba schools that take part in the official carnival parade build their elaborate floats and costumes. Those floats and costumes for 3 of the 12 samba schools were almost totally destroyed. Months of work, not to mention cultural symbols from the famous parade, all destroyed.
We lost everything. It's a huge suffering. This was the work of an entire lifetime that we loved, that we cared about, and to see it like this turned into ashes in a minute.
At the Granja Rio Samba School, more than 3,000 intricate costumes were turned into ash, and overall the damage is estimated to be over $5 million, throwing into chaos plans for this year's celebrations.
It is humanly impossible to make carnival again in a month. This is impossible. All the money in the world won't be able to rebuild what Grande Rio has made.
But Rio's mayor says the carnival will go on, but it won't be easy, especially for the 3 samba schools that were putting the final touches on the floats, but that now are almost totally destroyed.
União de Ilha Samba School was fully ready for the carnival. Grande Rio is ready. Portela's preparations were very advanced. Unfortunately, it's going to be difficult to restore the work of a whole year in 30 days. But these schools have the hallmark of Rio's carnival. Lots of passion and lots of people involved. Carnival will go on.
The cause of the fire is not yet clear, but what is apparent is that next month's carnival in Rio won't quite be the same. At least not this year. Gabriel Elizondo, Al Jazeera, São Paulo.
Well, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is facing the second day of an extradition hearing in the UK. He's wanted for questioning in Sweden over accusations of sexual assault. His defense lawyer says he could face the death penalty if sent to the US on separate charges relating to the whistleblowing website. And finally, residents of one English town are sleeping safer after one of their own fought back against a group of attackers. Well, an armed gang who had sledgehammers tried to rob this jewellery shop. Help was close at hand, though, in the form of a grandmother. Armed with nothing more than a handbag, she confronted the men and forced some of them to flee. 4 of the 6 men have now been arrested. This is Al Jazeera, and these are the stories making the headlines now. Protesters in Egypt are gearing up for another day of mass demonstrations, 2 weeks into their campaign. Pro-democracy campaigners are still calling for the resignation of Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak. Well, the government has tried to appease demonstrators by offering a public sector pay rise. Well, a Google executive has been released after being detained during the anti-government protests. Wael Ghonaim is the activist behind the Facebook page that's being credited with starting the uprising. This video, uploaded onto YouTube, claims to show his capture on January the 28th. Ghonaim spoke to an Egyptian television channel shortly after his release.
First of all, I send my condolences to all the people who were killed. It was a peaceful revolution. We didn't want to do any damage. Don't focus your cameras on me. I'm not a hero. The real heroes are the youth who are behind this revolution. By God's will, we're going to clean this country of this rubbish.
Tunisia's parliament has passed emergency powers for the interim president. It means Fouad Membaza has the power to rule by decree and sidestep the parliament until the next round of elections. Well, it comes after the main ruling party, the RCD, was suspended from all political activity. Southern Sudan has voted overwhelmingly to break away from the north. Election officials have confirmed 99% of voters backed secession. Africa's newest nation will be officially confirmed in July. Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir formally accepted the split on Tuesday. A Chechen separatist leader is claiming responsibility for the suicide bombing that killed 36 people at Moscow's main airport last month. In a video posted on an Islamist website, Dr. Umarov described the attack as a special operation directed against Russians and their prime minister. He added there would be more attacks in pursuit of an independent Muslim state in Russia's Caucasus region. And in Mexico, 3 teenage boys have been shot dead at a car dealership in an apparent gang attack in the border city of Juarez. The city's become one of the most dangerous in the world amid fierce turf wars between local drug cartels. At least 60 bullet casings were reportedly found at the scene. Well, those are the headlines. Inside Story is next, and you can get another update with us at